I'm gonna tell you, man. Before I bring the videos, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this kid, man. I really don't know. And I actually had a conversation with my wife about this because and then I started watching the videos and I started knowing a little bit more about him. But I got a 16-year-old, and
Hmm.
this kid is 17, maybe close to 18 years old. And when I saw some of the videos, I was kind of impressed by what he was trying to do, and I was like, wow, well, here's a young adult that is trying to do something good. It was kind of impressive to me. But I kind of felt bad at the same time because he's only 17. And I was like, what
Right.
is a 17-year-old doing there? He should
Yes.
be in his family. With I wouldn't want my 16, 17-year-old in a few months, to be there. I'll be like, no, dude, it's a really dangerous place. And I hope that he understood where he was going to. Because
Right.
if you
And
find yourself, no, go ahead, share your opinions,
I
brother.
was going to say, I mean, you know, you know how you were at 17. I know how I was at 17. Were
Hmm.
either of us mature enough to be going into a war zone by ourselves without guidance at 17? Um,
Yeah.
no, no, definitely
Mhm.
not. And I
It's
mean,
scary, man.
yeah, and I mean, it. I don't know what his home situation is. Is some of this is the place of a father to guide their sons. Not saying that women shouldn't be involved in um, you know defending their communities because Israel does it with great effect.
Hmm.
But it's a matter of maturity. It you cannot send a boy into a war zone with no guidance.
Yeah.
Even a militia group, something like that. A militia group has a military chain of command if it
Hmm.
is structured in accordance with the principles of doing that. And so there's orders being given, orders to restrain their personnel from doing things that they ought not do. And
Right.
there is somebody who is answerable if something goes badly. That officer of that unit is responsible for what happened, what his men do.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what his home situation is, but I just cannot fathom, allowing it to happen. And it may be that dad knew nothing about it, or dad might be
Right.
out of the picture. Maybe dad passed away,
Hmm.
and so, but surely there must be somebody in his life that would have told him this is a bad idea. You shouldn't go there. There
Hmm.
let let other people who are older and wiser and more experienced do it.
Right. But here's the thing too. We need to realize that the reason why these people are doing this is because the total failure of these politicians ruling these places, right? Like governor or major, the city mayor and all that stuff. These people are failing to do their job because to me, although the malicious gray and all that is great, it should never get to that point. We should
Right.
not, literally, we shouldn't have to see the malicious in the street. If a militia shows up to the street, you somebody is failing at their job.
Something is already terribly wrong by that
Hmm.
time, and it's a war zone is what it comes down to. Is they have allowed, by they I mean the government of the locality, the governor of the state as well to an extent, has allowed a war zone to exist,
Right, right.
and that that's inviting all kinds of evil. You went to a war zone. I didn't have to go to a war zone. I had casualties shipped to me via air evac, so I
Hmm.
didn't see the war zone with my own eyes, but I got enough of it shipped to me to know that children don't
Right.
need to be there.
And again, at the same time, I'm seeing some of the videos and I see that it's kind of impressive what he's trying to do and trying to help. So I don't necessarily completely, go like, well, it's a bad thing that the militia's there, generally speaking, not
No.
just him. But at the same time, it's like I'm thinking to myself, man, this is a young kid. I wonder if he understood that ultimately that could have had happened. Because I was even talking to my wife about it. I'm thinking, when we went to combat, we understood what was going to happen. We spoke about it. We had a couple incidents of combat, and it got to the point that we knew what was going to happen and what was required of us, and it was just a horrible thing. But we already in 20 plus, still super young kids to deal with those kind of
Yeah.
events. The first time I went into Iraq, I was probably like 22 years old or something. Probably a young kid. Actually, I think I turned 22 in Iraq doing the first push in 2003. But again, really young. So I can't even picture a 17 having to deal with that. Let me show
Yeah.
a video right here, uh, because I mean, it's just insane. So, all right. So in this video right here, first of all, if you don't know anything about this situation, we've got a young kid here shows up to this protest in order to provide some help, and essentially he said that he was there he was there with an AR-15. He was also there with a pack, like a medical bag. And in fact, in this video right here, they're asking him, kind of like, hey, you guys have any non-lethal capabilities or something like that? And he's talking about, no, yeah, we have a gun. And at one point, he's saying that he got sprayed with OC or pepper spray. And then right after he got sprayed with pepper spray, somebody's asking for an EMT, and he says, "I'm an EMT." So no, not only he got sprayed by looters and guys committing crimes, but he's also helping them at the same time, right? So that's how the video starts. And again, you won't see any volume or anything like that. From there, let's just play the video a little bit. So right there, he's saying he's an EMT. All right. So after that, apparently, what happened here during this situation right here, we're not really clear on what happened, but apparently there was a shooting, and apparently he shot somebody. Apparently, again, and you see him right there, and from there he actually
Mhm.
picks up the phone and he says that I believe, again, the footage is obviously cell phone, but apparently, he said he just shot somebody and he was in the way to talk to the police or something like that. And because of that, you see him there with the cell phone. And because of that, he literally gets harassed by all these people. You see him here running. This guy's gonna punch him in the back. So you guys saw that.
Mhm.
This guy punched him in the back right there. And I just want to point a couple things here. You see, okay, first of all, you see the amount of people that is here. Obviously, if you have a firearm, remember there's a gun. You have the gun. So a lot of times for you concealed carriers out there, you guys that carry a gun, remember this. There's always a gun. You have it. So if you find yourself in a fight, like straight up fight, and somebody can overcome you for whatever reason, again, you have a gun, so the potential deadly force is always there based on the fact that you have a gun. So he's getting pretty much overran, and at some point, you see here he falls on the ground. One guy says, what's the deal with this? And some guy says something like, hey, he just shot a person, and they scream, let's go and get him. So they're going to get him because they're saying, let's go and get him. Uh,
Yep.
and one guy right there, you saw that guy hit him with a skateboard, and there's
Yep.
actually a guy that has a gun. He shoots. Here's the thing. I want to point this out. You see that guy that he shot right there? At one point, he looks at him and he kind of points the rifle towards him, and he doesn't do anything. He shoots the guy when the guy actually like tried to rush him. Let's watch it
Yes,
again.
he
You,
tried to come back at him.
yeah, so right there, it's just to prove his state of mind that he didn't want to kill anybody.
I
Um,
agree.
let's go again. You see there?
He gave the guy a chance to disengage. He didn't
He
take it.
get right, and let's look to this guy right here on the right. You see the guy holding a stick. So
Mhm.
obviously, a guy hit him with a skateboard. This guy's holding a piece of wood, and I believe
Yep.
this guy back here. One of the guys to his left has a gun, and later on we find out that the guy holding a gun is actually has some maybe he's a sexual has some kind of sexual abuse case or something, which obviously he's not supposed to have a gun. And again, as the case go, he's walking away, and he's trying
Yeah.
to go to see the police. Let me just play
Yeah,
this
the
one real quick.
skateboard in and of itself is a deadly weapon because you have the trucks on the skateboard are a substantial
Right.
piece of metal. I mean,
And
that
you
is, and not only that, but I mean, you hit somebody in the head with that, that's going to cause. I mean, besides just concussion, I mean, there's enough edge there for it to cause a depression fracture. I mean,
mhm.
and that can be a delayed fatality.
Let me just say this. Base I mean, I don't know what he did in the past. I don't know what happened, but base in that right there, that situation he found himself, I think the kid is more than justified. We know for a fact that these people are going to do something bad. We have seen multiple cases already in the George Floyd riots. We have seen several cases already where people have been beaten down to a point that almost dying. We have
Some have
witnessed
died.
some have died. We have witnessed people being harassed. We have witnessed, this. I mean, you saw that captain in San Luis that was murdered. So we know that they have the intent and the capabilities to murder them. And you saw them. They have weapons. Maybe they have actually firearms. One guy had a gun. They have sticks, skateboard. Multiple people attacking him. They stated, "Hey, let's get him."
Yeah,
So
it's a lynch mob.
yeah,
It's a lynch mob.
yeah.
There's no other way to
But
put it.
anything you want to share about this one, brother?
Yes. So specifically going back towards the beginning of your video, I don't know what the timestamp was it on
Mhm.
there, but the first guy that got shot, rolling that back, there was a guy chasing him with a Molotov cocktail. The guy
Mhm.
threw it at him, and
Mhm.
then he resumed chasing him. Does he have more weapons on him? Even after, because I counted on the audio there, I counted 8 shots fired. So at some point, he gets hit in the head,
Right.
and he had multiple shots fired at him. I'm pretty sure that after he was already down, the guy that Kyle wouldn't have kept firing. So
Mhm.
he was being shot at, and he was still charging him for his weapon. To me, that
Right.
in and of itself is reason enough to continue firing because now you're having to protect that weapon from someone who has already shown intent to murder you. So, in I haven't you've been to a combat environment. I've
Mhm.
only been in exercises, but I have stolen a red team long gun during an
Mhm.
exercise. I
Right.
mean, it is a long gun is easier to disarm than a handgun.
Right. Right. Or to grab.
It was very reasonable that this guy, if he could have gotten fully closed with him, that he could have got that rifle away from him and murdered him with it.
Right. Right. I
So,
mean, that skateboard that he got hit with could have knocked him out, and
yep,
then
it
you
it definitely could have.
and then you laying down in the floor, open for somebody to take your firearm and just shoot you and kill you.
Yet, so he tripped, and yet there wasn't anything there. So when he got hit in the back of the head, did that daze him? Did that momentarily, even for a half a second, knock him out? So at that point, if you're think you're gonna lose consciousness and all that, and it's already a deadly force encounter,
Mhm.
you've got to do what you can to not take more damage,
Yeah.
because any more damage after that could be it for you.
Mhm.
Once you've got a head injury. So,
Yeah.
after he gets up and starts running back, he once he initially gets up, he's walking, and
Mhm.
like you would not expect somebody to be walking that slow once they get back up. What's going on there? Is he still dazed?
Right.
And then eventually he's back up to a jog, jogs past the police officers who are coming
Mhm.
in, tries to surrender to the police. They
Right.
reject his surrender.
Mhm. Well, I
So
think in the past that I think during that night he spoke with the police in the past, and there was confusion. I don't think the cops knew because, like you say, there was shot fire, and at one point, just by listening to the videos, guys, if you're watching, there's no audio in these videos. I couldn't play the audio. I haven't figured out how to do it. But you could hear shots being fired, and it's not him.
Yes,
So,
there's some
so
from
is
far away, and then
from
there's
far. Yep.
let's see, yeah, and then there's some more up close. I can't find in my notes where I wrote it down how many more shots were fired, but there were some that were close by and some that were not close by, so there was more shooting going on. So it's a confusing situation.
I tell you what, this kid, Chase just said the kid actually did a good job fighting off. I'm gonna tell you, he did a good job. He
From
really
the
did a good
technical
job.
standpoint,
Yeah,
yep,
because I mean, the good Lord had to protect him or something because he just fought off a bunch of guys. Any of those guys could have given a good strike and he would have been down. And the thing about this, I want to mention this because this is pretty much disgusting to me. The news is already putting how apparently he did some kind of work with the police as a kid, like he was, like a cops trainee or something. Like he
uh,
volunteered.
navigators. I'm not sure what they're called.
Yeah, whatever they call him. And to me, I'm thinking, hold on, man, is it bad? Is it bad to be 16, 15 and volunteer with the police officers to learn some jobs, to get some volunteer experience? A lot of high schools you do that to make your college, when you apply to college and things like that better. Or maybe
Yep,
you want to
hospitals have
finish.
it, paramedics,
Yeah,
firefighters,
we
they
all
have
have it.
similar programs too. And even the military does with high school and then college ROTC.
ROTC, but now we're talking like, oh, he volunteered. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like the what they were trying to paint our cops. Like he
Hmm.
does training with those guys. Like that's a bad thing. I mean, what do you want him to do? Sell drugs in the corner? Would that be
Yeah,
better?